Chosen one, anchor your spirit to what I am about to say right now. That ache you have been carrying, the one that wakes you up before the sun rises and sits with you before you say a single word. I need you to hear this verdict. The enemy has been working overtime this week for one reason and one reason only. He sees her coming. It all shifts in the next season. The lack, the waiting, the closed doors, the hands that took from you without ever giving back. But hear me clearly. This is not ending because you finally caught a lucky break. This is ending because of what you have endured, what you have refused to abandon, and what you have kept believing when every single piece of evidence told you to stop. Think back to that moment earlier this week when you almost let go, when you almost deleted that prayer, when you almost convinced yourself that the blessing was meant for someone else and not for you. You did not know it then, but that moment of staying, that quiet, stubborn refusal to give up, that was not weakness. That was your weapon. That was the act that unlocked what heaven had already prepared. You did not ruin your story. You sealed it. The Most High interrupted every distraction in your day just to bring you this message. So lock in, because I am about to read the verdict that changes the trajectory of what you have been denied. You did not find this recording by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. God did. This is a divine appointment written into the foundations of your destiny before you took your first breath. You are standing at the edge of your own before and after moment. Stay until the very last second, because in the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the legal decree that cancels every assignment the enemy launched against your provision, your love, and your peace. I am going to walk you through the exact pattern of how God conceals his greatest gifts inside the people we almost overlooked. And at the end, I will give you the declaration that seals your alignment with the woman heaven has already assigned to your life. Do not click away. Your future self is begging you to stay, because if you leave before this message is finished, you may walk past the very blessing that has been searching for you. My name is Zerekiel. I have spent years studying the hidden architecture of divine assignment. The way God moves people like chess pieces across the board until two destinies collide at exactly the right moment. More than 10,000 chosen ones have used what I share here to stop rejecting what heaven sent because it did not arrive in the packaging they expected. If this is your first time here, subscribe and hit the notification bell right now. Not because I need the numbers, because the message I release next could be the one that was written specifically for the moment you are about to walk into. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The silence has not been peaceful. It has been heavy, like something is holding its breath right before it speaks. Maybe you have been carrying a quiet grief this week that you cannot fully explain. Not the kind that comes from a single event, but the accumulated weight of everything you deserved and never received. The love that was promised and withheld. The opportunity that arrived and then disappeared. The hands that were supposed to give but only ever took. Or maybe you have been watching other people step into the exact blessings you prayed for. And somewhere deep in your chest, a voice has been asking, why them and not you? You feel suspended, like you are standing in a doorway between the life that broke you and the life you were created for. And the air in that doorway is dense with everything you have not yet received. And in that suspended place, the enemy has started whispering a very specific lie. Listen to what has been moving through your thoughts this week. He is telling you that the reason you have been denied is because of something defective in you. He is replaying every relationship that ended, every opportunity that closed, every person who looked past you. And he is building a case. He is telling you that the woman who was sent for you either does not exist or already passed through your life and you missed her. He is telling you that your window has closed, that the blessing was real but the timing has expired, that someone like you does not receive someone like her. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Proverbs 18:22 says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." Listen to that word. Obtains favor. This is not a passive arrival. This is a divine transaction. The Most High does not send a gift and then recall it because the recipient was imperfect in their waiting. He is not reviewing your failure reel to decide if you are still eligible. The favor was attached to the assignment before you ever made a single mistake. You are not disqualified. You are being prepared for delivery. The heaviness you feel is not the weight of lack, it is the weight of arrival. It is what the atmosphere feels like when something too large to carry quietly is about to be placed into your hands. You think the empty seasons meant you were forgotten. You think the doors that closed meant you were rejected. But let me reframe your reality right now. Every closed door was protection. Every person who left created the exact vacancy she is walking into. Every moment of lack was the Most High keeping the seat reserved, the space clear, and the assignment intact. She was not lost. She was in preparation. And so were you. Some messages don't just inform, they activate. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's mantle. This sacred guide reveals the 12 divine codes behind your calling, your suffering, and your destiny. The codes that turn the life heaven already wrote over you into the life you actually walk. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now let me take you deeper into what this actually means for you. Because here is what I need you to understand about the season you have just survived. The waiting was not random. The silence was not neglect. There is an architecture to divine timing that most people never get to see. Not because it is hidden from them, but because they stop looking before the blueprint is revealed. You did not stop looking. You are still here. And that matters more than you know. Think about what it cost you to stay. Not just this week, but over the last few months. Over the last few years. The nights you talked yourself back from the edge of bitterness. The mornings you chose to believe again after dreaming of something that had not yet arrived. Most people do not recognize that as warfare. They call it patience. But it was not patience. Patience is passive. What you have been doing is active resistance against a force that wanted you to disqualify yourself before the blessing ever arrived. The enemy does not attack what does not matter. Let that land. He does not spend resources on assignments he considers finished, or futures he considers empty. The reason the warfare intensified in this season, the reason the doubt has been louder, the loneliness has been heavier, the comparisons have been sharper, is because the opposition knows something your eyes have not yet seen. He is not attacking your past. He is trying to intercept your future, and your future is closer than your pain has allowed you to believe. But here is where it goes deeper. Because it was never just about surviving the wait. The preparation you went through was not punishment dressed up as process. It was precision. Think about what God did with David before he handed him the throne. He did not place David in the palace to learn leadership. He placed him in the fields, alone, with a harp and wild animals, learning how to protect something precious in total obscurity. David had to prove his faithfulness when no one was watching before God trusted him with something everyone would see. The wilderness was not his exile. It was his education. And you, right now, have been receiving the same curriculum. What you learned in the silence, about your own worth, about what you will no longer accept, about the standards you finally stopped compromising. That was not incidental growth. That was the Most High crafting the version of you that she actually needs. Not the version that was desperate enough to settle. Not the version that confused attention with love. Not the version that would have accepted counterfeit comfort in place of genuine covenant. He needed you to become someone who could hold what he was sending. And that becoming required exactly what you walked through. And this leads us to something most people miss entirely. There is a lie embedded in how we understand readiness. Most men have been taught, either by culture, by wound, or by the voice that runs quietly beneath their conscious thoughts, that they are not ready until they have everything in order, until the finances align, until the healing is complete, until the external life reflects the internal calling. And so they wait in a different kind of way. They wait by withholding. They make themselves unavailable to what God is sending because they do not yet feel worthy of receiving it. But readiness in the kingdom does not look like completion. It looks like willingness. It looks like a man who has stopped running from the depth of what he is capable of receiving. God does not wait for your life to be perfect before he delivers the promise. He delivers the promise into the imperfect life as the catalytic force that accelerates the perfecting. She is not coming after you finish building. She is coming as part of the building, as part of the answered prayer that reorganizes everything around a new center of gravity. Stay with me, because what I am about to share next is the part that breaks the cycle for most men. The pattern they keep repeating without ever realizing they are the ones sustaining it. There is something that happens in a man who has been hurt in love before, something quiet and protective that he rarely examines, because examining it feels like vulnerability, and vulnerability once cost him something real. He begins to filter every new person through the memory of the last wound, not consciously, not with malice, but every time someone new draws close, there is a mechanism inside him that begins searching for the familiar exit, looking for the evidence that this, too, will end the way the last one did. And what that mechanism does, without him realizing it, is create the very distance that makes the connection fail. He does not destroy the relationship out of carelessness. He protects himself out of it. He mistakes guarding his heart for closing it. And the woman God sent, the one who was genuinely different, who was offering something real, eventually stops reaching through a wall that never moved. I need you to hear this with mercy for yourself, not condemnation. This is not a character flaw. This is a survival response that was formed in a season when it served you. But you are no longer in that season. And what protected you then is suffocating your future now. The wound taught you to recognize danger, but it also trained you to see danger where there is only depth. And depth requires you to stay open in ways that feel dangerously familiar to the moments right before you got hurt. Here is the part no one wants to hear. Some of the blessings you said you lost, some of the connections that faded, some of the women who eventually withdrew, did not leave because they were wrong for you. Some of them left because you gave them the version of yourself that had already decided to be disappointed. You showed up protected when they needed presence. You showed up managed when they needed real. And God, in His mercy, did not let those connections solidify. Not because the gift was taken from you, but because you were not yet healed enough to hold it without crushing it. That is not condemnation. That is revelation. Because the moment you see the pattern, you are no longer trapped in it. And once that clicks, everything shifts. Because you stop asking God why she has not arrived, and you start asking God what you have been doing with your open hand that has made it hard for Him to place something permanent inside it. Coming up, the hidden truth about divine recognition. The reason most men walk past the woman God sent because she did not arrive the way they imagined she would. Stay with me, because this next part will reframe every interaction you have had in the last 6 months. God rarely sends the promise in the packaging we requested. He sends it in the packaging that requires us to see beyond the surface. Think about how Ruth appeared to Boaz. She was not standing in a palace. She was not adorned with the markers of status that culture said he should look for. She was gleaning in a field, a widow, a foreigner, a woman who had already lost the future she planned. Everything about her external circumstances said she was not the one. But Boaz did not see her circumstances. He saw her character. He saw what she had done for Naomi. He saw her faithfulness when there was no reward attached to it. And because his eyes were trained on virtue instead of presentation, he recognized divine assignment in an ordinary field on an ordinary afternoon. The woman God has assigned to you may not be arriving in the form your imagination built. She may not be wearing the credentials your ego required. She may have already been in your orbit, and your preferences filtered her out before your spirit had a chance to recognize her. The question is not whether God has sent her. The question is whether you have trained your eyes to see her when she arrives, because she will not announce herself with trumpet. She will reveal herself through consistency, through character, through the way she makes the room feel more honest just by being in it. And here is where the real turning point comes, because even beyond recognition, there is the matter of receipt. Receiving is not passive. Receiving is an act of faith that requires you to lower every defense that was built from old evidence. It requires you to let the new story be new, not a sequel to the pain, not a remix of the rejection, but an entirely different narrative, written by an author whose plans for you have always been better than your own. There is a moment coming. Some of you are days away from it, some of you are already standing in it without knowing, where she will appear. And in that moment, you will have a choice. You can let the old wound speak first, or you can let heaven speak first. You can let history predict the outcome, or you can let God author one you have never lived before. But let me challenge you with something, because we are in the confrontation zone now, and I would not be serving you if I let you leave this message with comfort, but without clarity. The real delay in your love story has not been the enemy. It has not been bad timing or spiritual warfare alone. The deepest root of your waiting has been this. You have been more committed to protecting yourself from pain than you have been to receiving what God prepared. You have been more loyal to the familiar ache of absence than you have been to the unfamiliar risk of arrival. And absence, for all its suffering, at least never surprised you. It never asked anything of you that you had not already learned to endure. But love, real covenant love, asks you to be seen, fully, without the armor. And that has been the final threshold you have not yet crossed. And beneath even that, there is one more layer. The real spiritual root of the closed door has not been unworthiness. It has been this. You have been asking God to send her, while simultaneously holding a version of yourself back from the altar. You have been presenting him with the curated version. The healed parts, the growing parts, the parts you are proud of, while quietly protecting the parts that are still in process. But God does not need your finished self to release the assignment. He needs your surrendered self. There is a difference between the man who is complete and the man who is available. Heaven is not waiting for your completion. It is waiting for your full availability. And here is what you probably did not expect to hear. The greatest threat to what God is sending you is not the enemy. It is the version of you that got so accustomed to the waiting that you subconsciously made it your identity. The man who has been denied can become, without realizing it, a man who does not know who he is without the denial. The lack becomes familiar. The longing becomes a way of relating to God. And the arrival of the blessing actually becomes threatening, because it asks you to release the very identity you built in the wilderness. But you are not the wilderness. You were made for the promised land, and the promised land requires you to stop singing the songs of the desert. Place your hand over your heart right now, and speak this with me. I release every agreement I made with lack. I release every identity I built in the waiting. I break every wall I constructed from old wounds. I open my hands, my heart, and my future to what heaven has already authorized. I declare that I am not too late. I declare that I am not disqualified. I declare that the love God wrote over my life is not a rumor. It is a reality moving toward me right now, and I will recognize it when it arrives, because my eyes are no longer trained on the past. I am a man who has survived the silence and chosen to believe anyway. I am a man who has been prepared, not punished. I am chosen. I am ready. And what was written over my name before I took my first breath is being made manifest in this season. In the name of the Most High, it is sealed, it is done, and I receive it now. If this message moved through you like confirmation tonight, do not let the feeling fade without letting it plant something permanent. Share this with the man in your life who is still standing in the doorway, still waiting, still fighting the quiet war against hopelessness. He needs to hear that the door is not closed. It is about to open. And when it does, the life on the other side will make the wait finally make sense.